of our country. From now on, this discussion of earthquakes, the discussion of fault lines, where the earthquake will be, when will it be, will it happen, will it not happen, what will be the scale. We need to just let go of these discussions. We need to leave them to one side because there are very, very distinguished professors who do these things. Earthquake for this geography and for this land is a reality. It's a fact. On this soil, millions of years ago, the mechanisms that form the earthquake, they were formed during the formation of the earth, and for millions of years, they will continue to be present. This side of the affairs, we cannot change. Nobody's powerful enough to change that side of the business. Since we cannot stop the earthquakes from happening, as a nation, in order not to collapse during the earthquake, in order not to lose lives, and not to feel a huge feeling of regret as a state, in order to survive in the future, we need to become earthquake resistant, and we need to create earthquake resistant cities. Today, as of today, as Istanbul Metropolitan Municipality, we are taking on a strong initiative. We're changing the order. We have to change the order. Changing the order is a matter of courage, of course. And in order to be courageous, first of all, we need to get rid of being part of an order that is going wrong. Istanbul Metropolitan Municipality, in this process, has been talking about this topic for years. Since 1999, the earthquake that happened right next to Istanbul, since Düzce and Gölcük earthquake, we've been talking about this, we've been experiencing this, maybe big efforts are being made. However, a permanent and brave change, not enough steps have been taken for that. Since 2019, especially construction, unearned income, and politics, we've been standing against this triad. Therefore, the most advanced and most courageous steps can be taken by us for an earthquake. We need to be in that position. We're fully aware of that. And the requirements for this position, the effort that we spend to fulfill this, will not be enough. We need to elevate that even further. We're aware of that as well. Therefore, whatever needs to be done about the earthquake in order to fulfill those, as Istanbul, we're standing up. We are starting a mobilization for a high-level mobilization for earthquake-resistant Istanbul. Okay, is this possible? Yes, it is possible. California, Mexico, Italy, Indonesia, Chile, and Japan have made it possible. So it is possible in Istanbul as well. It has to be possible if we want to continue to exist and live. In order to protect our people, we need to have earthquake-resistant cities. We need to achieve this on a high level in Istanbul, and not just for Istanbul. We have to uphold this as an example to the rest of Turkey. That's the kind of city we are. That's our target. And the purpose of our mobilization is clearly this. Earthquake is an inevitable reality and a matter of survival for Istanbul, in the real sense of the word. Throughout history, just like earthquake has happened in Istanbul, it will happen again. We don't know the day, the hour, or the year, but nobody should doubt that earthquake will be experienced in this city. If on this land of seniority, we want to continue with our generations. We need to have short, mid, and long-term earthquake-resistant settlement areas, and we need to come up with those rapidly. And again, nobody should doubt that. I totally believe that as a nation we can achieve this. For this, we have the technical know-how, the knowledge, the human resources, we have scientists, we have the power and the willpower and the financial power to do all of this. In spite of everything, we have those. This land has resources of incredible levels. And this national mobilization with our state, our government, with our scientists, with our civilian communities, and with our entire people, we're going to work together, and we want to achieve this together. In fact, this is the clear summary of this day, and we totally believe that we'll be successful. However, believing in it will not suffice by itself. We have seen this to be the case. We know this. It's not enough. We need realistic strategies. We need resources because our problem is of a gigantic scale. Even in this hall, this need for resources, there are tens of people who will do the planning for that very well. We need collaboration because what needs to be done is multidimensional and very, very various. All parts of society should be mobilized and mobilize itself. Because from government officials to technical staff, from healthcare professionals to the citizen, from business people to workers, it's a long chain that needs to function without being broken. It needs to function in a decisive manner. We need science. Let's not forget, science is our only light. It's our only light. Because just like yesterday, if we ignore what science is saying, if we continue like that, we get hurt. We're even challenged to quote figures when we lose tens of thousands of lives. It is a pain that we experience time and again. Therefore, by ignoring, it's not possible to continue on our path. Staged roadmap. A strong staged roadmap is what we need. Because all resources will be included to the process according to a plan. Today, in this hall, your participation, you're witnessing millions of people listening to us are bearing witness for this new and strong beginning. Against earthquakes and natural disasters, we're going to make this senior city an earthquake-resistant city. We're starting from scratch with everything. I'm saying all these, but I would like you to know, ever since we have come to power, many natural disaster preparation work and projects have been consolidated and reviewed time and again. We have made a call to the scientific community, and we established an earthquake science higher board. And again, after the meeting we had with this board, we have had weekend workshops in 7 areas covering all dimensions of earthquake, from fortification to emergency help, from logistics to healthcare precautions, from neighborhood organizations to the Natural Disaster Coordination Center. We have put under the microscope all dimensions of it. As of today, 7 scientific boards have submitted their assessments, and we have the assessment reports. We're going to be sharing this with the public. All academicians, experts, organizations, and institutions who have joined our boards, I would like to thank them on behalf of Istanbul citizens. Our teams and scientists will continue their work uninterruptedly from now on. Every person who joins is an individual of this mobilization process, and they're happy to be so. We are going to be reviewing our work at every stage, and we're going to be fulfilling whatever needs to be done for the mobilization. We're going to inspect those, we're going to self-criticize, and manage the process in the healthiest manner. As of today, we are, in fact, at the third stage of our mobilization. Today, here, together with our team, we're going to be sharing our earthquake mobilization roadmap with you. Our roadmap, we'll be announcing it by item and as an action plan. First of all, in IMM, what have we done? What are we doing about the earthquake? We're going to be sharing this very sincerely. Second, what is the state of affairs? What sort of a problem are we facing exactly? On what scale? We're going to be sharing that as well. We're going to see that there are huge things to be done. And the financial dimension, the regulation, this is a situation way beyond the will of IMM. We're going to make that obvious. And I'm going to share you a way out that takes note of this situation. I'm going to share that with you during my closing speech. And this will not be over with this meeting. There are things we're going to be sharing with the public. We're going to talk about the moment of the earthquake. We're going to be showing what will happen after the earthquake. So the public and the organizations will be invited 360 degrees. Now, I'm going to give the word to my colleagues. Please go ahead.
Değerli hazırım, kıymetli.
Distinguished guests, distinguished professors, welcome all. As you know, Istanbul has been the city of earthquakes and other natural disasters for years. However, it was always able to renew itself. However, after 1999, Istanbul has developed with an unacceptable building plan, and unfortunately, it has been a victim of that. Since from the day we came into office as Istanbul Planning Agency, we have been focusing on the scientific developments as we started designing the future, just like it is done in other metropolitan cities of the world, because we know that preparedness for disasters, preparedness for earthquakes requires planning. Istanbul, as an ancient city, is being threatened by natural disasters, and we have 11 directives, numerous laws and regulations, and still Istanbul can't be a city where there is this chaotic mix of laws and regulations. Since 2019, as Istanbul Planning Agency, we have been working with the common mind, and we try to focus on the future of the city, and we are doing our best to do this with all stakeholders of Istanbul. Last year, we shared the framework and vision last year with the title Vision 2050. It is our strategic document. Within the framework of this document, in order to be prepared for earthquakes, we have developed policies and protocols. And finally, Earthquake Scientific Board and Earthquake Action and Response Plan have been prepared. Social, economic, healthcare architectural, engineering perspectives have been handled. And this report, which you hold in your hands, will be further developed by including further actors. And it is a very important process with the inclusion of various stakeholders. 300 plus scientists, public officers, and NGO representatives developed 28 plus programs and determined 70 actions. In the future, in the upcoming days, we will enhance the involvement of further actors, and we will be starting this mobilization for earthquake preparedness. In order to be prepared for an earthquake, we have made some investments. We will continue with these, and all of these are available for your analysis and for your review on this website, istanbulgüçleniyor.ibb.istanbul. This is literally Istanbul is being reinforced, and it has exceeded 12 billion TL of a budget. We will continue updating information on this digital platform, and it's going to be actively and efficiently used. Istanbul Vision 2050 and the spatial decisions taken will be based on the output of this report. And if there are areas where we are not authorized to take action, we will discuss the process transparently. Istanbul has the potential to overcome this huge challenge as an ancient city, with the academia, with the experts, with the financial world, with the business world, and with Istanbulites. Last but not the least, with Istanbulites, we are all capable of taking action. Thank you very much. Esteemed guests, I will continue from where Emrah Bey left. Actually, what we have just encountered recently showed us once again that our legislation is our relevant reconstruction and development legislation is vulnerable, and there are measures to be taken. This should not be limited to the borders of Istanbul, and this has to be extended to the whole region. As you know, this includes planning, determination of the location, determination of risky buildings, demolishing of all these buildings. We have recently seen during the tragic incident of Kahramanmaraş earthquake that if this process is exploited, the results are unbearable. So for development and reconstruction, measures have to be embedded to these laws and regulations. If you ask us, we need a special law for Istanbul in particular. What may these hold? What may this entail, you may ask? I will share with you some details, but you may find further details on our portal. As the building and reconstruction planning is made, of course, social interest and interest of the society has to be prioritized. Secondly, all the reconstruction plans prepared prior to 1999 have to be revisited and revised based on the current geological and geotechnical studies. Number three, law number 6306, which is about gentrification of disaster-prone areas. This has to give authority to the metropolitan municipalities. Next, we have to ensure that we conduct urban disaster and risk mitigation assessments. Next, we have to make sure that development and reconstruction plans are integrated with certain elements such as assembly points, temporary shelter areas, and first-degree evacuation corridors. Next, we have to make sure that the Court of Accounts conducts specialized audits, and this will certainly work in favor of rules and regulations, and that we make sure that there is no exploitation when it comes to licensing and zoning development. After the zoning development and after the measures taken in line with the regulations, there should be no exploitation when it comes to the relevant regulations on development and housing. We have to make comprehensive revisions so that all constructions have special certificates which prove their earthquake resistance and durability. Auditing and surveillance have to be not limited to the pre-construction phase, but this should be repeated on a regular basis. The static composition of buildings have to be reviewed every 5 years. And constructions that do not have special permits to open up commercial areas at the ground level, they should have special certificates. And we should also make sure that all the workers that work in the refurbishment and reconstruction of spaces, all workers and chiefs should go through basic training on construction statics and safety elements related to construction. We also have to review the process. As you know, there are certain restrictions. If not all residents are in agreement, then buildings may skip certain analysis. So as risky buildings are to be analyzed and reconstructed if necessary, this should not require consensus of the residents. And it's not only the architectural perspective that has to be considered, but the development and reconstruction elements have to be considered as permits are given by municipalities. Constructions, all buildings have to have special ID cards. They should hold QR codes, and as you enter a building, you should be able to scan the QR code so that all citizens are able to see how safe and secure a building is as they enter into it. Next, industrial constructions and facilities which may cause a secondary disaster. Their risk assessment has to be conducted by the residents, by the owners, and these should be presented officially to municipalities. We are looking forward to your contribution to this process as well. Thank you very much. Esteemed participants, as an engineer, in order to build earthquake-resistant cities, there are certain things, and these things we already put into practice in the projects that we realize. Social housing is extremely important when necessary because unfortunately people with low income levels are to reside in social housing, or they reside in unsafe buildings. These are projects which take human beings on the focus, and we take action in order to ensure that. However, social housing is to be presented to the citizens with fixed payment terms. As the metropolitan municipality, we have had the groundbreaking of more than 2,900 houses, and we have received 240,000 applications. So with fixed installment terms, we have proven that it's possible to construct buildings. I'd like to underline the fact that with fixed installments and with fixed interest rates, we have provided social housing. This is extremely important as we consider the fact that minimum wages in Turkey is around 8,000 plus. We are proud of the work that we do, but then again, our government and state should also be doing similar things. Unfortunately, we're living in a geography where we have to learn how to cope with earthquakes. So the public authority should supervise this process, and sustainable solutions have to be presented to our public. As procedures are undertaken, our citizens should be able to proceed in this process without any intermediators. In July 2021, we have started a platform saying that Istanbul is regenerated. We say to Istanbulites, if you're residing in constructions or buildings built before 1999, come and make an application to us. We plan to renew and regenerate your houses with all the process of emptying the apartments, demolishing, reconstruction. We have had the groundbreaking for 16,000 plus apartments. Some are still being constructed and some are underway. When compared with the past, we have developed solutions to more than 5 times houses. As this project is to be further developed, this is going to be multiplied by 10 times. 17,500 plus applications we received. That means 1,351,000 people are residing in risky buildings. This map is actually the most organic map of Istanbul. It shows the applications. Our citizens are saying that we accept your conditions, that we pay for the regeneration or reconstruction of the buildings with affordable installments, and we would like to make sure that it's a long-term installment and it's low interest rate. Of course, it's not only regeneration and renewal. When possible, buildings in our city should be reinforced. Actually, reinforcement has entered into our lives back in 2007, but has not been used properly. Under the rooftop of Kiptaş and with the contribution of Istanbul Metropolitan Municipality, we will be taking further action. We have fast scanning process for buildings, and as a result of this fast scanning process, as a result of this analysis, if buildings are found to be risky, with the precondition that all residents are to meet at a common point and reach consensus, we will be presenting them projects. These reinforcement projects will provide hybrid solutions and like carbon fiber, etc. Our main objective is to ensure that Istanbul is more resistant to earthquakes, because lives have to be protected. Thank you very much. Esteemed guests, one of the questions we are most frequently asked is about the metro lines. In case of an earthquake, all the stations and metro subway system are among the most durable constructions, because they have been designed so that these stations and systems may be used, because we have hazard analysis reports and geophysical standards are considered. We can say that when compared with standard constructions, metro systems are 1.5 times to 2 times stronger and more endurable to earthquakes. And in case of such disasters, uninterrupted energy, illumination and air conditioning systems will be available. And in case of fires and earthquakes, we have emergency evacuation tunnels and emergency evacuation staircases. These are all complying with the international standards. We have 248 stations in our metro system, with the stations, with the tunnels. After the disaster, these may be used as an important logistic hub. After a disaster, assembly, emergency mitigation, and shelter are some of the facilities that these tunnels and these stations may offer. Digitalization is key so that we may have access to digital data from one single source. In this framework, all the railway systems are prepared on the digital platform. For instance, some field hospitals may be opened in the metro system. With the technology available, we are able to do that. That's eligible. 47 kilometers have been added to the metro system in the last 3 years system, and this railroad system, or the rail system, after a disaster will be fastly checked both on the Asian side and on the European side. We have Istanbul, Atatürk, and Sabiha Gökçen airports. We have the seaways, we have other railroads, and metro system is quite critical to join these together. In case of a major earthquake, for logistic support and procurement, we have to make sure that we have access to Atatürk Airport. Atatürk Airport access is possible with M1 metro line. M1 is the oldest metro line we have in Istanbul. On M1, back in 1992, we have viaducts, and until 2 years ago, they had not gone through major analysis, and they were not checked for their durability in line with the earthquake laws and regulations. However, all the relevant viaducts that we have on this route have been reinforced by us after seeing that they need to be reconstructed. For the financing of this reconstruction, we have taken some action, made an application to the provincial bank, and we're waiting for the approval of the project. 3.5 million people are to have no access to rail system in case of an earthquake. So the western part of the city has to be connected to the rail system. That's why we started with the rail system construction back in 2021. Sefaköy, Beylikdüzü, TÜYAP. We have started with the project. We are at the threshold of receiving the approval from the provincial bank, İller Bankası deriz. And finally, there is a visionary project we have developed for a length of 75 kilometers. We have this Havaray project. This is going to ensure fast connection between Sabiha Gökçen Airport and Beylikdüzü. It's going to be an alternative route. So, after all, like it is the case in our day-to-day lives, in case of a disaster, our rail system will provide services to Istanbulites. With this awareness, with this objective, year by year, we add further kilometers, further mileages to the rail system. Thank you very much for your attention.
Mr. Mayor, participants, the phenomenon of earthquake is always a permanent item of the agenda. Every month we have preparation and coordination meetings to counter a potential earthquake and its impact to water and sewage systems. There are many projects and works we have completed to take the necessary precautions. The leading work here is a potential earthquake and its impact to how to provide water for Istanbul. All dams providing water to Istanbul, their earthquake and risk analyses have been completed, and as per the outputs, the necessary rehabilitation work will be carried out. And for this, the administration and the waterworks of the state in Ali Beyköy, İstanbul Büyükşehir Belediyesi, and Ali Beyköy dams will be fortified. Other Elmalı, Istranca, and Tarkos dams, their improvement projects will be prepared. To that end, 2023 investment program has been designed. In 2022, another project that's been concluded, a potential earthquake and its impact on sewage and wastewater. Facilities belonging to us and mechanical systems, drinking water, wastewater, their earthquake analyses have been made and fortification proposals have been submitted. Priority is drinking water and wastewater treatment. Büyükşehir'in 2 tane drinking water treatment facilities have gotten underway. Our administration has just completed another project, Istanbul drinking water installation of wastewater collectors, earthquake security analyses. Work has been conducted by Professor Naci Görür. In this study, drinking water and wastewater pipelines, how they will be impacted by the potential earthquake. This has been analyzed, and the probable number of fragments, fractures, have been studied, and in order to prevent breaking, flexible pipe connection parts will be supplied. The allocation has been made in the new program. Also, with World Bank financing, İlbank will be executing the climate and earthquake-resistant cities. Wastewater treatment will become earthquake resistant. In addition to all of these, the impact of the earthquake has been analyzed for the Bronx buildings, and those buildings were not resistant enough and visited frequently by our public. The necessary precautions have been taken rapidly. So, after 2019, Beykoz, Esenler, Bakırköy, Zeytinburnu, and Çatalca new service buildings have been commissioned, and some branches, Kartal, Gazi, Osman Paşa, they have been moved to other buildings that are earthquake resistant. Part of Istanbul water civilization, monumental water buildings have also been taken note of, and in order to mitigate the risks to those, İSKİ has started work on restoration of cultural assets. Uzunkemer, Eğrikemer, Bozdoğan Kemeri, Terkos, pump station restorations are an example. İSKİ has reviewed the corporate structure, and with earthquake leading the way, all sorts of crises and natural disasters, risk management and emergency intervention branch management has been established. 30 people are in the search and rescue team, and a fully equipped vehicle has been commissioned. In the latest earthquake, our team has joined the search and rescue work. Again, the ongoing İSKİ drinking water and sewage water master plan. Earthquake is an important item on the agenda. Potential earthquake precautions that need to be taken have been put forth for short, mid, and long term. Connected to our master plan, the projects that we have executed and what needs to be done from now on, the action plan of İSKİ during earthquake, a detailed İSKİ water and wastewater services earthquake resistance emergency action plan has gotten underway. As a result, after the potential earthquake in Istanbul, urban water management is very important, and water is a source for life, so it will be provided to our citizens in an uninterrupted manner, and the continuity of wastewater treatment will continue. Thank you to Istanbulites and to distinguished participants. Dear Istanbulites, distinguished participants, in an earthquake the importance of natural gas pipes are obvious. For security, as İGDAŞ, we've been conducting a lot of security work. All natural gas infrastructure in Istanbul, İGDAŞ remote control and data collection system, SCADA center 24/7, this is being monitored. As such, any irregularities on the grid can be taken under control instantaneously, and including earthquake, any situation requiring emergency intervention, natural gas flow can be stopped remotely. Also, İGDAŞ has an earthquake early warning system, and Boğaziçi University Kandilli Observation House, and with sensors on the shore, together with TÜBİTAK, we have developed 832 İGDAŞ momentum measurers. They are working in full capacity. As such, as of the moment the earthquake waves hit the shore, if the earthquake surpasses a certain threshold, natural gas will automatically be stopped from 832 separate points. As such, any natural gas fire secondary disasters will be prevented. Also, the current early warning system, in addition to that, together with Kandilli Observation House, fiber optic based earthquake early warning system is being developed. With this, at the base of the Marmara Sea, islands Ambarlı Pendik current fiber optic cables will be used as early warning sensors. Thanks to this work, in a potential Marmara earthquake, depending on where it's originating from, 3 seconds to 30 seconds is the early warning system that we'll be able to have. The developed system is based on AI and smart learning. This will be completed until the end of 2024. Also, west of Marmara, the fiber optic cables will be included in the system, so the early warning system will be enhanced. On the other hand, about our distribution lines, in accordance with world standards, highly resistant steel pipes are being used, light, bendable, flexible for ground movements, polyethylene pipes that can expand sixfold of what they are. Polyethylene natural gas lines do not suffer any damage at all. We're collaborating with TÜBİTAK. It's called the Robot Eye inside of pipe inspection project. The latest phase will be completed in 2024. Thanks to this, İGDAŞ steel line grid will be screened by robots. Their x-rays will be taken before the potential earthquake or afterwards, which pipes are damaged and where we need to make an intervention. We'll be able to detect those. Again, in recent past, the European part of Istanbul, Esenyurt main natural gas pressure reduction and measurement stations are going to be connected to BOTAŞ. This project has gotten underway. As such, if there's a damage in the current pipe, supply security will be supplied from the backup pipe. Again, we have developed with Kandilli İGDAŞ earthquake risk reduction system, İGAZ. The moment that earthquake happens, within 15 minutes, Istanbul damage charts will be produced, and we may submit it to emergency intervention teams. On the other hand, at the time of the disaster, internet access problem is the biggest one. In near history, we used our own internal resources. Offline mobile GSB was commissioned. As such, wherever internet is not available, there will be fast and secure access to our Wi-Fi system. Again, after the disaster, in order to provide uninterrupted communication, we have updated our Wi-Fi system. It will be digital, so Istanbul-wide, we will be able to communicate through wireless. As İGDAŞ, about the potential Marmara earthquake, early warning, early intervention, and communication systems. We will be continuing to improve upon those with the same determination and decisiveness. Thank you. Hello again. At the time of an earthquake, the continuity of transportation lines and their survivability, we have seen how important these are. Not just transportation, also communication lines should be continuous. So during and after the earthquake, the transportation infrastructure, I'm going to share a few information. First of all, some fortification work is being done, as some of these are projects, some have already been applied, but there is still 20 more important fortification lines. Some of those belong to IMM, some to the Highway General Management. And the upcoming period, we're going to be implementing those fortification works. Mobilization has been announced. Another important line is, if these routes survive, providing for their continuity. So as an evacuation corridor, they will be active. You know, this D110, especially D100, especially Maraş and Hatay earthquakes have shown that collapsed building may disrupt transportation and impedes the arrival of search and rescue teams. So rapidly in all of these lines, also we are searching for what can be done for the safety of the buildings. On the other hand, at the time of the earthquake, a relatively safe part of Istanbul, the north part, evacuation and temporary shelter areas are part of the action plan in Istanbul. Some of those have been prepared by AFAD. They are in harmony. For the logistics of the disaster, Sabiha Gökçen, Istanbul, Atatürk airports will be used. In addition, Hazarfan, Çorlu, and Samandra military airports should also be commissioned, especially seaway evacuations, Bosphorus and Marmara shores. Current boat jetties will be used actively. So the fortification of the jetties and floating jetties will be implemented. We have an action that will be coming for floating jetties. Our experts suggested on 25th of March that 4 of these will be on the Bosphorus lines, 1 in Büyükşehir, and the other one will be used on the Black Sea shores. They will be in contact with the airport. In addition to that, IMM city lines boat inventory. Well, we're going to increase the number of boats which can provide temporary shelter. Also, there's also the possibility to rent cruises. After earthquake, of course, mobile communication becomes vulnerable. Apart from visual pollution, the base stations, let earthquake aside, they can by themselves collapse in a strong storm. In order to alleviate that, GSM operators, instead of putting those on buildings, they should select places that will not be harmed by the earthquake. Whenever they do need to be installed on a building, such buildings should have an upper level earthquake resistance report. As such, the sturdiness of the building will be important. In addition to that, a mobile natural disaster action plan is among our targets, and we're going to be sharing this with the public. The workshop on Saturday said that the technical infrastructure areas in our plans should be addressed in a manner that will be used by GSM operators. Neighborhood scale, meeting points, and logistics. We saw that neighborhood parks, as far as their presence and organization, are of utmost importance. So neighborhood differences should be redesigned in an earthquake-sensitive manner and be implemented rapidly. Our mayor gave us a target about 30 parks being so. And a potential disaster, logistic-wise, the air, the land, and seaways will be used in a more optimal manner. We're going to be reviewing all of this according to this plan. First-degree logistics centers, container tents, showers, these should be kept in stock in other provinces in order to use in a potential earthquake. And those warehouses, equipment will be prepared for Istanbul. Instead of materials sent to other cities, we will look for continuity in the provision of new materials, with AFAD leading the way. Together, we'll be coordinating with the state organizations. Also, second and third degree neighborhood centers, we're going to be doing logistic work. Local municipalities, NGOs, and neighborhood volunteers will be actively taking place in this process. Land evacuation. Northwest corridor is important, and apart from Basın Express, we don't have a very strong alternative. This is a very congested road, and we need to search for alternatives to this road. Basın Express road. On both sides, alternative transit road should be opened. And we're going to be looking for this in reconstruction plans. We started working on it. Basın Express and the roads around it, and TEM, and especially constructions and systems around D100. For these to survive an earthquake, expropriation included, all plans and tools will be implemented. My respects.
Değerli Başkanım, Sayın
Distinguished mayor, distinguished participants, as for the management of waste that emerge as a result of an earthquake, as a result of a disaster, should be removed urgently and in a safe and secure manner. Unfortunately, we have household waste, construction waste, medical waste, industrial waste that compose the total waste as a result of an earthquake. If the earthquake has a magnitude of 7.5 on Richter scale, we will initially have 90,000 houses to be demolished, and that would mean 50,000 to 60,000 tons of debris and also rubble waste. And there will be a need of 30,000 square meters of a storage area, with the coordination to be established with disaster management center. They need to be separated, and with the land to be provided by the governorship of Istanbul, this waste has to be stored and then managed and processed. Asbestos, arsenic, paint with mercury, wood, heavy metals, and organic waste. These are all hazardous to human health, as well as hazardous for the nature. So this has to be managed properly. Household waste will similarly be removed from the area and moved to waste transfer stations. And in case these stations are damaged because of an earthquake, there are some interim storage areas where they will be separated and then will be taken to the recycling centers that we have. The ones that are recyclable will be recycled, then they will either be taken to the incineration centers or to the to the collection and management, waste management areas. As for medical waste, they have to be collected properly, and we have an incineration center for medical waste. They will either be taken to this facility, or they will be sterilized at the sterilization facility that we have, and then they will be taken to the waste storage areas. Industrial waste, this is extremely important. This should not be mixed with household waste. To prevent that and to ensure that this industrial waste is to be managed properly, they should be stored in accordance with the regulations, and then they will be discarded. Recycling and management of this waste. We have Silivri Seymen on the European side, and we have Kömürcüoda on the Asian side. We have medical waste incineration center, sterilization facility. We have Şile Kömürcüoda recycling and waste disposal centers. However, if any of these facilities is damaged, in order to ensure uninterrupted services within the framework of our legislation, we have determined some alternatives. Our plan is to focus on urban cleaning and sea cleaning. Thank you very much for your attention. Dear Istanbulites, distinguished members of the media, we are going through challenging times, and we have come here together to discuss important matters. Within the framework of the thing that I will mention, I'd like to start off by saying the following. Cultural heritage, protection of cultural heritage does not necessarily refer to the protection and reservation of cultural heritage, but we have to think about other relevant issues. If cultural heritage disappears, it is going to cause the disappearing of the cultural infrastructure. And of course, we have to think about the lives to be saved in case of such a disaster. As Istanbul Metropolitan Municipality Division of Heritage, we think there are three phases that we have to focus on. Pre-disaster, during disaster, and post-disaster phases. We, of course, have to have some precautionary measures, and these are preventive measures, and this is vital. I'm going to go into the details. We also have the basic issue about the assessment of historical structures to ensure they are earthquake resistant. We also know that all these old structures were constructed with regulations and rules of those times. So the work that is being undertaken now, we have to ensure that these constructions, these structures, unfortunately, do not have a similar criterion like the one imposed for current contemporary buildings after 1999. We also have to make sure that there's a triaging system. We have to take measures. For the post-disaster phase, we have to have a needs analysis, damage analysis, and improvement and rehabilitation. 35,000 plus monuments we have in Istanbul. These are all cultural heritage, classified as cultural heritage, and they are all included in the inventory. There is routine control conducted. However, it's not only for static purposes. We also have to check and continue with the analysis system to prevent vandalism. 35,234 historical monuments. Unfortunately, currently, with the current conditions, 10% of them, more than 3,500 of them, are left unprotected. I don't know whether this is the case in any other historical city. Abandoned and left. These are structures that are left as they are, and because of the fact that they are historical, they can't be touched for the sake of earthquake safety. These have to be handled, and 35% of these monuments are output of civic architecture. These are structures in which people live. This is very important because this is going to have a big impact in case of an earthquake, and in case people are caught within these structures. These civic architectural structures have to be prioritized so that lives may be saved in case of an earthquake. There are some basic points that emerge. They are namely as follows. Preservation boards. There are boards, and these boards are not like independent auditing and surveillance boards. However, with the fact that we have earthquakes in this part of the country, we have to have experts who have knowledge and know-how about earthquake-related issues. From static perspective, unfortunately, these monuments have not been analyzed to ensure static stability. There is another important fact. Like it is the case with the earthquake legislation, we should have a legislation or directive for earthquake stability of historical monuments and structures. For historical monuments, we have only a guideline that talks about the things to do. And this is actually a great guideline, but still it does not have any legal background. This is a big gap. Urgently, there should be a legal, it should be legally binding, and we should consider this urgently. At the regional preservation boards, we are a regional representative as IMM. We used to do it in the past. We will continue to do that. This guideline should be embedded with risk mitigation and risk analysis. We will continue with our interventions and with our contribution. I'm very sorry. I'm a bit sick. That's why I keep on coughing. I'm sorry for that, says the gentleman. Since from the time that our mayor came into office, our teams have started with some work in order to reinforce these monuments. These have to be shared with the community. Our accumulation of knowledge should also be extended. These are not monuments that belong to us only. It is to contribute to the awareness level as well. FRP system is a great reinforcement, and this is mentioned in the historical monuments guideline. However, this is not referred to in the earthquake legislation. That's a big gap. For years we have been doing this. Unfortunately, this has not been extended to other structures, but it should be. Additionally, we have done this in certain structures. You may go see them yourself. On the city walls of Istanbul and in the Basilica Cistern, we have steel construction to reinforce the structures. Cultural heritage, preservation of cultural heritage is a vulnerability for Istanbul. If the scenario turns out to be true, 20,000 plus historical monuments will be adversely affected, and this would mean 25 people per building, and it's going to have impact on the lives of 500,000 people. As IMM heritage, cultural heritage inventory will be open to public access soon. I would like to greet you all cordially. Would like to thank you for your attention. Distinguished Mayor, distinguished participants, dear Istanbulites, I'd like to greet you all cordially. I would first of all like to express my condolences to the ones that have lost their lives during the most recent earthquake. Would like to wish a fast recovery to the ones injured. I'd like to talk about two projects. One is Istanbul is regenerated with affordable installments. The second one is going to be about the rental system. Within the framework of our social municipality understanding, for people with low income, we are providing financial support to people without interest rate. This is actually related to the gentrification project conducted in Istanbul. We know that access to finance is an important hindrance. So this is going to exclusively contribute to the gentrification process. This project I'm going to announce today is actually the first innovative practice. We've been working on this project for the last 1.5 years time, and at the beginning of this year in January we have presented this project to our assembly. Hopefully next month, as the project is discussed at the assembly, it will be approved and it will then be put into implementation. These are the four important pillars of our project. The first pillar, the first stakeholder, is the community who lead their lives at risky buildings. The second pillar is Kiptaş. Banking system is an integral part of the system to provide financing. And the fourth stakeholder is us, IMM. As Istanbul Metropolitan Municipality, we will be managing the process. Our task is to ensure that our community who lead their lives in these risky buildings come together with Kiptaş. We have started this some time ago. And to finance this transformation, we are going to coordinate citizens and banks so that they come together. Kiptaş is our subsidy. On the one hand, they are going to give guarantee that their houses will be demolished to be rebuilt. And for the demolished buildings, guarantees will be provided to the banks so that banks will be financing the process. They will be providing household loans to the citizens. On the one hand, as IMM, we are going to coordinate the whole process, and on the other hand, loans, household loans, will be offered to the citizens, and the interest rates will be afforded by IMM, not by the citizens. In order to benefit from this project, we have come up with some preconditions. In order to benefit from this project, the building should be assessed as risky, and there should be consensus between the residents and Kiptaş. Citizens or residents have to be from low income levels. Their income level should not be more than 2 times of minimum wages. Installment term should not be more than 10 years. And an individual may benefit from this system only for once. These are the general preconditions. As Istanbul Metropolitan Municipality, in 2023, 2.9 billion TL is allocated for this. I'm going to share with you a concrete example of this. As you will see on the screen, let's say the loan is for 1 million TL for 10 years. This is the payment. This is going to be the payment plan. This is a real one. A loan of 1 million TL will be paid with installments of 20,000. The first year average is 2,748 TL to be paid by the resident, and for people with low income, IMM is going to pay 17,000 TL to the banking system. This is the interest rate. As you consider the total amount for the first year, And this is going to be, installments will be 1/3 of the minimum wages, so that people with low income levels will be able to benefit from this financial support. With this project, we will be focusing on people with low income who are unable to change their residences with safer buildings. So as a result, the financial model that we present, 2.9 billion TL is to be allocated. So in a year's time, 14,000 houses may be transformed, may be gentrified. And if the interest rates go down to 12% on an annual basis, 1% on a monthly basis, then the number of households to be gentrified will go up to 25,000. Distinguished guests, Kahramanmaraş earthquake has shown that hundreds of billions are lost as a result of such a major disaster. And if this expected Istanbul earthquake comes true, this is going to be a threat to the economic independence of Turkey. This is what the experts are saying. So since financial support is provided to business owners, we also have to ensure that banks offer affordable loans to citizens. Financial tools are presented to the use of residents with low income levels, and we are expecting the central government to support this system. Distinguished guests, my time is limited. That's why I'm in a hurry to tell you all about this. The second thing is about the rental aid. As a result of the fast scanning system in Istanbul, we have come up with 338 buildings that are risky. No matter whether they are the owners of the apartments or the tenants, we will be giving them financial support so that they may move to safer buildings and they urgently move from these risky buildings. So, distinguished guests, esteemed colleagues, this is all in line with social municipal activities that we prioritize, and with our mission of being a social municipality, we will take steps so that we will fulfill our mission. We wholeheartedly believe that we can achieve this. Thank you very much.
Inevitable reality of Istanbul, the earthquake. We don't know the date. However, the common opinion of all scientists is that it will happen one day. And the basic scenario that they insist upon is that 7.5 will be the magnitude of this earthquake, most probably. Based on the scenario, probably 260,000 buildings will suffer, will be damaged. 90,000 of those will be collapsed or will be heavily damaged. Approximately 4.5 million citizens will need a shelter. Okay, then, what to do in order to mitigate the damage from this situation? That's why we have prepared the Emergency Action Plan. 5,636 meeting points. People will be able to reach there on foot. In these equipped points, citizens will be able to fulfill their basic needs. We saw in Kahramanmaraş earthquake that search and rescue teams need to reach debris areas quickly. According to our plan, search and rescue and healthcare teams coming externally will be able to use the airways. In line with the Emergency Action Plan, in order to determine which roads are open, helicopters and drones will be used. As such, equipment machinery will open the roads, and the information about open ways will be provided to search and rescue teams. IMM has 1,178 work equipment and staff that are prepared for earthquake. Post-earthquakes healthcare services will be important. Staff will be shipped to intervention points, and emergency cases will be taken to hospitals by helicopter. Seaways, boats, and ships, floating hospitals will be temporary shelters. Metro lines will be used for the evacuation of the victims, and equipment will be transported to the inner parts of the city. And we have solutions for roads closed by debris, bicycle and electrical scooters. Assistance materials will be collected in first-degree logistics centers and neighborhoods, and their transportation will be done with small burden vehicles. Also, second and third-degree logistics centers will provide easy access for our citizens. Shelter, food, clothing, first assistance, and hygiene will be the basic materials that will be supplied. During the earthquake and afterwards, the needs of the city will be provided on the north to south corridor, and in order to take our citizens to safe areas, we'll be using the same corridor reversely. The first 24 hours is important for shelter. In addition to 1 million people determined by AFAD, 3.5 million people will be taking shelter in temporary facilities. Water need for the first 3 days will be provided. Again, energy stations will provide uninterrupted electricity. Earthquake is a reality. We know this reality, and we're going to be taking our precautions in a timely manner in order to mitigate all the risks of this earthquake. Distinguished participants, classically, thank you for your patience, we usually say. But this time, I'm not going to thank you for your patience, because we need to be patient about this, and we have to keep listening to this, keep sharing this, and keep talking about this. You should not get bored from this topic. We should not. From time to time, the subject of earthquake is addressed on TVs, and that is the least rated program, apart in normal times, I mean. So we have to, in a sustainable manner and in a responsible manner, make this possible. This film that we have shared has been shot in the leadership of AFAD, and it's based on the regulations prepared by our municipality. It's the Emergency Intervention Services, a reminder of those. As of yesterday, we have been invited by the governor's office. We're going to be sharing 2 meetings of AFAD, all meetings and all meetings afterward. We're going to be disclosing everything to the public at the highest possible level. And what we're going to be saying and what we're going to be following, we're going to be collaborating with the public. Dear Istanbulites, dear participants, Kahramanmaraş earthquake has really brought the administrators of this beautiful country to a turning point. It should. We're either going to mobilize all together, or whoever is not approaching collaboration about earthquakes should leave their seats and go back home. Really, there's no other way to express this. We have to be rapid, very clear, very decisive, and we should mobilize all together. We have to, because nobody can stand empty talk from now on. If I'm the one who's speaking needlessly, that's applicable for me as well, and whoever is sitting in power, it's applicable to them as well. I'd like to underline that. So, time, concrete solution, concrete proposals, concrete execution. It's time for that. Within the scope, of course, we are in very intense work. Our determination is clear. Let's discuss, let's negotiate, let's talk. However, as of this moment, it should be known that we're not anybody who compromises from their principles cannot be accountable to this public. So let's repeat. Come, all Istanbul, and let's have a Istanbul and Marmara Earthquake Committee established. Very clear. If we don't approach this in an integrated manner, we cannot come up with a solution. For years, we've been calling upon the government. I'd like to repeat this once again today. Ministries, the governor's office, IMM, local administrations, relevant sectors, construction, Istanbul Chamber of Commerce, industry, finance, and insurance sector, vocational groups, NGOs, and universities, all together with them, and even people who have suffered from this. Let's plan for formation of such. Somebody who comes through the door with a problem should exit a few months later having their problems resolved. Our government and all local administrations in the Marmara region should negotiate, and we should establish Marmara Earthquake Council. 30 million people live in this region. More than 50% of industrial production comes from here. So it is compulsory to do this. The respectable and strong council should have authority and suitable working conditions. This is above political parties. It should not be subject to anyone's authority. I'm not talking about the power of ABC party. This council should be autonomous. Joint wisdom. They should prepare a roadmap for all of us, from engineering to planning, from logistics to healthcare strategy, from whatever needs to be done in the social arena to managerial legal dimensions. At every level, there are things to be done, and they should be defined in a scientific manner. Which organization should be on what function? These could be determined, and rapidly this council can become functional. I totally believe this. Dear friends, I would like to express this with my own experience. During a local administration, 5,000 households, I have been involved in their conversion, urban transformation. The end is, well, I won't even go into who tried to prevent it. We have been able to lay the foundation of 1,300 households in 2022, 700 more. 7 years later, breaking ground, 9 years. In 9 years and 10 years, we have done the fortification, the transformation, the conversion. If we try to administer the city like this city needs 100 years. And a plan which needs 100 years is no plan, as everybody in this hall knows. So, in that sense, distributed organizations, regulations should unify, and this council will open an incredible space of solution for us. I know this to be the case, clearly, because this is the best and healthiest means. The organizations, the institutions of all the state, this is my duty to call upon them. In 2019, I submitted this to the Minister of Urbanization, and in January 2020 as well, I have submitted this plan, but I have not been able to get a response. Second, in accordance with this plan, including disaster preparation, we should revise our budget. Whatever we can do to increase, putting aside essential expenditures, we're going to allocate our budgets for the earthquake, and not just for IMM, especially the central government, all ministries. I invite them to a huge mobilization in this regard. Fortification activities in evacuation roads, intervention and disaster. There are things to do in order interventions to be effective. As my colleagues just said, many studies will be managed by increasing the financial possibilities. Third, we are proposing regulation work in many areas, especially for a year and a half. Istanbul construction regulations should be updated. Parcels of a certain size should be equipped with an earthquake container. Extensions should be limited. Earthquake isolator systems should be used on buildings. Transformation roofs should be settled as an extension. Such activities are important in order to prepare Istanbul for disasters. They will create flexibility. Istanbul settlement regulations, the revision work will be submitted to the Parliament this month. An important heading is, especially as my colleague said, once the settlement permit has been given, it's a matter of inspecting them at certain intervals, cutting down columns, beams, etc. In order to prevent these, this plan should be implemented. This should also be embedded in the settlement regulation so that this can be sustainable. All local administrations, we have done the correspondence and we have invited them to come up with a joint action plan. If licensed, settled construction, if any intervention has been carried on later on, this is a crime, and we're not going to be allowing this crime because of our public responsibility. Fortification work, we started this especially with the regulation proposal that we have submitted to the Parliament. We're going to be starting as of this month. I'm announcing this to be the case. We are establishing an Istanbul is being fortified system. With this system, people who apply for rapid screening and fortification, we're going to do this at its cost. We're not saying we're going to carry this town elsewhere. You can't solve the problem like that. Fortification and especially on-site restoration. We should be doing it better and implement the process in a very rapid manner. And also, if we don't include private sector in this mobilization, we can't do this. In this country, we've been talking about earthquakes for 24 years. For 24 years, we've been talking about urban transformation. But with this speed, if we continue with this speed, again, according to what the experts say, we need another century. So we have all seen that this is not working. In this regulation, especially partial and encompassing regulation, risky building analysis, rapid building screening, and financing models and construction processes will be defined. As of mid-March, my colleagues will start receiving applications, and I would like to announce this to our citizen here. Rapid screening will be widespread. We're not going to let it go. After Kahramanmaraş earthquake, number of people who applied to us is in excess of 110,000, whereas we used to go to them, and close to 70% of them would not let us review their buildings. So we need to act rapidly, and in order to make this more widespread, we made a protocol with professional chambers and relevant stakeholders. For this process to be more widespread, we propose regulation work by the central administration. Unlicensed buildings without permits, we should start working on those together and rapidly. 6 is integrated household policies. Included in this, in March, we started 5,000 units, social, rental, household, and payable, affordable social housing. We'll be breaking ground for it. In midterm, 10,000 more households will be constructed. We're going to be sharing this with you soon. Of course, in Istanbul, we have comprehensive work about housing, especially rental and empty household inventory will be used for new approaches. You have been informed about the website. This information will be shared over there, and the approaches will be expanded together with you. 7th is meeting points and temporary shelter areas, water storage, waste, tent, solar panel, tool cupboards. We are planning for those. We determined our logistics centers. We have determined our needs. My colleagues shared a certain part of these with you, but 2,450 hectare area will be promised. About physical infrastructure, on the European Anatolian side, we're going to be preparing temporary shelters for 4.5 million citizens. Of course, meeting points, temporary shelter areas, and first-degree evacuation corridors will be embedded in the settlement plans in a permanent manner. Of course, the evacuation of Istanbul and widespread structuring, especially in close geography, from Ankara to Zonguldak, from Edirne to Kırklareli. This is a strategic plan that concerns the entire extended geography. The extension of infrastructure work and its acceleration. We need support from the central administration and financial support without buts and ifs. This is above parties, so we're insisting on this. In order to many things during earthquake, we need financial methods, especially electricity problems. We talked about communication problems just now. There are things to be done, preparations to be done for this before the earthquake. Of course, lack of lighting during the earthquake is important. It causes trauma on people, how search and rescue teams cannot work. We've seen this to be the case, and in order to alleviate this, energy companies and electricity institutions of Istanbul, we need to talk to them and collaborate with them in order not to interrupt communication or power in public buildings and boats. There will be base stations, and at meeting points there will be charge units. These are at the forefront of our projects, and we're going to be doing this in a very short period of time. Early warning. 50-kilometer long fiber optic based early warning system is being expanded. This is article number 9. On this line, 5,000 sensors, and thanks to the AI that we'll be developing, our preparation for the earthquake and our intervention will be elevated to the uppermost level. Item 10, in every neighborhood of Istanbul, we'll have effective search and rescue teams, and we are starting on a project. This is very important. Of course, we talk about this, we say disaster volunteers, there are representatives from there's Istanbul Fire Department, local administrations. Under their coordination, we're going to be accelerating training. We're going to provide the required equipment training to the people. We're going to be doing a protocol with professional organizations, and only over that group we're going to be training 5,000 peoples, and we're going to be keeping them prepared with the required equipment in all neighborhoods. Of course, these are very important, and I would like to say the following in particular about the preparation of Istanbul for the earthquake. We are, in order to progress, we need to change the system that produces unsound buildings. So the parliament, the central administration, and the government, there are important steps to be taken by them. Many institutes should be prepared, and not just about Istanbul, in the neighboring area as well. In that sense, volunteers should be organized and trained. We have to put forth a rapid and effective work. For instance, in military service, in exchange for a fee, those people, if we provide them with disaster volunteer training, this will be an important step. I'd like to announce this. Not just continuous military staff, but even those who went to military service for 1 month. There are such hundreds of thousands of people. If we can include 30–40% of them in this process, it will be a tremendous gain nationwide. I'd like to remind that. In this process, last thing I'd like to say, an Istanbul specific law should be issued. This is compulsory, but of course, zoning amnesties should be alleviated from our lives. We have to do that. This is something above parties. In this country, from now on, every zoning amnesty proposal is bad for our future. Also, we have to have a constitutional prohibition for zoning amnesties. Construction inspection system should be updated. Inspection activities, strong local administrations, professional chambers should be a public service. Inspection work should not be something to be marketed. It will not fulfill clearly on this building or in the digital environment. As open data, each and every individual of the public should have access to view this information. First of all, starting from unlicensed buildings. And these should be fortified within 6 months, or they should be demolished and restructured. They should be applying for a license for that. This should be made compulsory. Within 1 year, fortification or restructuring, the construction should get underway within 1 year. This should be followed up on. And settlement plans, meeting points, and inner city park areas, healthcare areas, training areas, fire department areas. Even though these areas have been designated as such, if there is a building on top of these, then emergency expropriation programs should be implemented. In each and every square meter of Istanbul, the households that are going to be produced, they should have a purpose to prepare Istanbul for the earthquake. It's not a luxury construction that I'm talking about. We should have a household stock that should solve the earthquake problem of Istanbul. And until the city becomes resistant, we should never give up on it. Social households, affordable households, rental policies. If we don't move an integrated policy, Istanbul will never be resistant to earthquake. We need concrete work. We have concrete proposals regarding this.
Currently, in our country, we have currently 25 laws, 25 different laws on reconstruction, 11 directives, and in this practice, 19 different institutions are authorized in this process. So, be it IMM or ABC provincial or sub-provincial municipalities, 19 different authorities, we have to prevent this chaos, and in order to do that, we have to take action so that the process is accelerated and exploitation is prevented. Esteemed guests, esteemed colleagues, we are discussing extremely important topics, and this devastating earthquake has shown that politics have to go through a radical transformation. This has once again been shown. Everyone who goes and pays a visit to the disaster area has tears in his eyes. Everyone is reflecting on the things that are witnessed. This can't be resolved by shouting and yelling at one another. This can't be resolved by being cross with one another. We are at the threshold of an important era. We know that institutions have to have authority and autonomy to take action in a timely manner. Every institution and every authority should be transparent, should be open, should be participatory, and the culture of cooperation and coordination should be developed. This is urgent, and this should be put into implementation right away. So our society has left aside all the other issues encountered, and there is such a strong solidarity shown by the people of this country. But then again, the whole politics under these difficult conditions, be it the opposition, be it the ones that are in the ruling government, were unable to show solidarity and cooperation among themselves. This is so sad. We have once again witnessed that politics are way behind the society. as a stance. Everyone should be accountable, should be held accountable for the responsibilities. And for this reason, Turkish politics should be pluralistic in the real sense of the word. And we should do whatever it takes. We are obliged to do whatever it takes, because the upcoming Marmara earthquake is not going to damage Istanbul only, is not going to threaten the Marmara region only. Let me put this honestly, this is going to threaten the future of Turkey and the economy of Turkey and Turkey's position on a global scale. We should keep in mind that this threat, up and coming threat, is threatening our national security. Istanbul earthquake is the Istanbul earthquake has such a potential that it will put Turkey down on the ground, on its knees. We should make sure that we have to overcome this issue. Istanbul earthquake, we should survive this earthquake. We should not be harmed. We should not be damaged. We should not be on our knees. In order to ensure that, we should build a strong cooperation between the civil society, public sector, private sector, and politics. We should make sure that everyone is reasonable, everyone is free to express himself, herself, everyone is freely to practice the authority. That's vital. That's indeed a vital obligation. We have to cooperate. We can't distinguish between the local government and the central government. Marmara and Istanbul Earthquake Council has to be established, and our earthquake budget as IMM should be revised and support should be given to that. And in order to ensure that Istanbul is resistant to earthquakes, legislative work has to be accelerated and concluded. We have to make sure that the legal infrastructure and the legal work is to be completed and financial support is to be given. With fast scanning methodology, we have to extend this by including it in the legislation. Unused vacant residences have to be put into use, and legal arrangements have to be made for that. Assembly points and temporary shelter areas have to be developed with the necessary infrastructure, and especially with the central government. This should be done in coordination. There should be continuous coordination. All the utilities of Istanbul, utility requirements of Istanbul have to be reinforced against disasters, and we should have such a common ground that all actors work in coordination. And there should be a special law to be enacted, particularly focusing on Istanbul earthquake. So this plan is shared with you today, and let me tell you, this is only a call. This is a call for mobilization. So we ask for unconditional cooperation and coordination from the Ministry of Transportation to Ministry of Urbanization to the Ministry of Interior Affairs to all the other ministries. It is a call out to the professional organizations, to the vocational societies, companies of all scales, all sectors. We are making a call out to all the stakeholders. Earthquake preparedness and earthquake resistance to be ensured in Istanbul. Since from the day we came into office, yes, we made a call out to everyone for mobilization from day one. But then again, we are re-inviting all those who do not join forces with us. Let's come together and let's do this together. Whenever you invite us, we will do our best to be there. Kahramanmaraş earthquake should be a starting point for all of us. Just like we said 23 years ago, we should not follow the same path. We lost so many lives. We lost so many years. We cannot neglect our responsibilities, because otherwise we will be paying even a higher price. Old way of doing politics should be put aside, should be reconsidered, should be revisited, and things that have to be abandoned should be abandoned right away. gentrification of buildings on site and giving chance to people to live in safe buildings. We should fight for that cause. We can't move houses, thousands of houses and thousands of people to totally irrelevant locations in the city. We should be logical, we should be reasonable, we should take our decisions based on scientific facts. Common wisdom is extremely important. Scientific data is important. Cooperation with local authorities is key. We should not make declarations and we should not have a discourse just like a discourse for elections. This is national mobilization. As of today, in order to ensure that we make Istanbul an earthquake-resistant city, we should put forward our decisiveness, determination, and courage. We will not stop. We know that if Istanbul comes to a stop, the whole country comes to a stop. If Istanbul falls down, the whole country will fall down, and it's going to be a big challenge. Today is the day. I am going to be out on the field. As of today, you will see us every single day out in the field. Come join us. We will receive applications. We will build new systems. We will come together again in April. We will share with you the thorough details of our disaster response plan. Even if some avoid our meetings, we will keep our motivation to attend meetings to which we are invited. Let's come together and let's join forces so that our lives are not taken away in this order built in our cities. Our hearts are aching. We can't even utter the exact number of casualty that we had recently. Let's come together. Let's 5-10 years plan. Let's 20 years plan so that we transform all our cities and make them earthquake resistant. Our destiny should not be demolished with earthquakes, just like it has been the case for previous civilizations. We will prevent this from happening ever again. This ancient city where we live will become an earthquake-resistant city, and this is the initiation of the mobilization we are beginning. Hopefully it will bring a fruitful outcome in the end. I invite you all, I thank you all, I'd like to greet you all cordially with respect. We have listened to the mobilization plan of Istanbul. We'd like to thank you all for your participation. Would like to greet you all cordially. Thank you.